How many times you face some difficulties while trying to apply some filters in your Excel file, feeling you are lost, you cannot get the data exactly what you need? That's why in today's video I'll show you exactly and we will explain together the slicers in Excel and how to use them and how to get the most benefits of using slicers in Excel. Is there any condition to use slicers in Excel? And how to use the new generation of filtering using this tool in Excel. So stay tuned. Before we start, and as usual, let me tell you that the file we'll be using in this video is linked below in the description. You can download it and follow along with me step by step. And now let's get started with the example and the table we will explain on. It's a very simple table that containing the invoice number, invoice date, customer ID, store, seller ID, product code, category, price per unit, quantity, and total amount. It's a huge amount of data, and I'm sure that you might be working on a bigger data than this one. And as we all know that there is a traditional way to do some filters and some sorting using the normal filter in Excel, where you can do it using the editing section in home menu and go for a sort and filter, doing some filters. If you'd like to filter for the store, you can select it, or you can select the category you need like that, and you have some options that you can select multiple selection like that, and you will get the data you need. But at some time you might face difficulties doing that, especially that you don't know exactly what is selected in this category or what store is selected if you have multiple values here. Also, if your co-worker or anybody else is working on the sheet, there is a big possibility that he doesn't notice that there is a filter applied here. That will take us to the new generation of the filter, which is a slicer that can apply multiple filters with the opportunity to display what exactly is filtered from your data. But before you can be able to insert some slicers in your data, there is a couple of conditions that you have to make sure that your data is matching it. The first one, you have to make sure that your data is consistent and clean. What the meaning of that? It means that you have to make sure that every column inside your data has its own header. Also, you have to make sure that your data is well organized like that. You don't have any other data or any notes below your table and for sure beside it. Also, we have another condition here is to transform your data into a table structure. If you are expecting to tell you that this data is already structured as a table, it's not. It's a normal range. So you can color it and do whatever you need inside this range. The Excel is not dealing with it as one unit. You have to convert it from being a group of cells or a specific range into one table or one unit. And that's very easy. In order to do that, you have multiple ways to do it. The first thing is to click inside your data and go from insert and then table. Then you will notice that there is a dotted line of selection around your table and around your data, and you have this small pop-up window that appeared and asks you where is the data for your table you need to insert. All you need is to select the correct range and then press OK, and also don't forget to check my table has headers. As we agreed before, that the first condition is to have a title for each column that you have inside your table. There is an easier way to do so. If you selected any cell inside your range, and from keyboard you can press Ctrl L or you can press Ctrl T. It will display the same window and you can select the entire range you need to create the table from. Let's click OK, and we will notice that we have a new menu here that you can change the table name or rename the table. For example, let's name it as Analytics. You can resize your table, you can summarize in pivot table, which we already explained before, and I'll keep the link of the video in the description below, you can check it. You can remove duplicate, convert to normal range, or insert slicer, and that's exactly what we need. If we clicked on Insert Slicer, you will have a pop-up window that asks you which column you need to insert as a slicer. And that's why I mentioned before you have to have a header for each column inside your table. From this window, you can select whatever columns you need to insert as a slicers. For example, we'll select Store, Seller ID, Category, and anything else. If we clicked on OK, you will notice that there is a slicer added inside your sheet and it's linked directly to your table. Now you have some options for use slicers, and one of the most important options that you can determine how many columns, the number of columns that you need to structure your slicer. For example, if we selected this one and we increase this one to be number 3, you will have 3 items in each line. Let's resize our slicer here, and if we do so for seller ID and we increase the column number to be 2, now we have the seller ID structured in 2 columns. Now we have the category, so we can increase it to be maybe number 4, so we will have 4 columns inside our slicer for the category. But what are the benefits behind using the slicers? It's very easy to use, so you can click on any item or any element you need that will make you see exactly what is filtered inside your table. And also you can select multiple selections at the same time by pressing Ctrl. For example, we need to filter automotive supplies in addition to gift, so we will select it and then press Ctrl from the keyboard and go for gifts. And also we can sports and fitness. Now we have this data is filtered based on our selection. If you would like to clear some selection from any slicer, all you need is to click on this icon, which is clear filter. You can determine if you would like to activate multiple selection without pressing Ctrl or not. So now everything in filter is clear. Without pressing Ctrl, if you clicked on anything, that can be unselected. And if you clicked on it again, it will be selected. That's without pressing Ctrl. If you disable this option, now any category you will select, it will apply only it on your data. And then you have to press Ctrl to apply multiple selection like that. Also, one of the most thing that is important using slicers, that it can be formatted based on the layout of your report or your data if you are using it, especially for the dashboards in Excel. For example, if you clicked on any slicers, you will notice that there is a new menu appear here. If you clicked on a slicer, you can select slicer style from here, or you can create your own style. Let's move to another advantage of using slicers. If you converted your data into a pivot table, so let's try to summarize with pivot table in a new worksheet. And for example, we have the store here and the category in the row section, and we have the total amount here. Let's have a replica of this pivot table in another place like that, and we can remove the store and replace it with the seller ID. Now we have 2 different pivot tables that are displaying different data. If we insert the slicer from the pivot table analyze and go for insert slicer, let's for example choose a store and trying to filter using it. Now we have this slicer that's showing the stores we have. If we clicked on California, you will notice that the first pivot table is only the one who is filtered. That's why when I first trying to insert the slicer, I selected that pivot table, but I have another opportunity to filter both pivot table with the same slicer. How we can do that? All you need is to select the slicer and go for slicer menu, report connection. You will have the pivot tables listed in the pop-up window. You can select the other one and you can press OK. Now 2 pivot tables are connected with the same slicer. If we try to filter using New York City, you will notice that it's filtered in both pivot tables. And if we use Texas, for example, now you can see that the number is changing in both pivot tables. Also, we can clear everything from that button. Let me tell you that slicer is very important tool to be used in Excel. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was helpful for you. If you did, click the like button and don't forget to subscribe not to miss any of our upcoming videos. Also remember that the file we used in this video is linked below in the description. You can download it and try it by yourself. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.